Welcome back to the Empowered Learning Podcast and to another powerful installment in our 2026 Wealth Reset series, featuring voices who are helping families break free from debt and build lasting legacies. Today, I'm joined by Diana Glynn, a trailblazer in financial education with over 2 decades of experience helping families become protected, debt-free, and financially dependent. Diana brings a deep passion for teaching others how to work both sides of the net worth equation, all while removing the fear and shame that surround money. In this conversation, we dive into money, mindset, and the emotional baggage we carry that holds us back. If you've ever felt overwhelmed, behind, or unsure how to move forward, this episode is for you.
Hello, Di. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Andy. Thank you for having me on your call.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I know how crazy busy you are. So the fact that you're spending just a little bit of time with me is, I'm just very honored and blessed to have you here. So thank you so much for spending some time. I'm super excited to dive in and I know kind of the public facing Di, but hopefully get a little bit of kind of a background of kind of upbringing and that kind of stuff. So I'm very excited for our conversation.
I am too. A little nervous, but excited.
Oh, it'll be great. We'll have fun. So, just to get people kind of a little taste as to some of the conversations we're going to have in a little bit, we talk about the American dream. That's just something that people kind of throw around flippantly. I think that does change over time. So so to that end, knowing what you know and your expertise, what does the American dream mean to you today? And how do you help to families just reignite that vision? Because I think I end up talking to a lot of people that they've kind of lost hope. Like we're not going to get that American dream. So how do you reignite that vision for families as you're talking to folks?
Well, first of all, the American dream, it's always been built around owning your own home
Right?
and owning your own business.
Okay.
And so what we do to help people with home ownership is we actually teach them the rules that the banks don't want them to know,
Okay.
so that they could own their home free and clear rather than owning a mortgage for their entire life. We also have a business opportunity that anybody can participate in, irregardless of your education, because we hire for attitude and then we train for skill. So we're able to help people not only become debt free, we can also help them become financially independent.
I love that. I love that. And I'm sure we will dive into this a lot because again, I've heard you speak 100 times probably, and I always love just how polished you are. You've got things down to like a science, and it's something that I definitely want to try to emulate just because you are you know this backwards and forwards, and it's so obvious. So again, I'm excited to dig into this a little bit, but this idea that there are rules that the banks play by that people don't know about. And again, we can probably dive into that more a little bit later, but do you want to give just maybe 1 or 2 examples of that things that you and I know that we've kind of leaned into this now, but maybe most Americans are just not aware of?
Well, something that we will talk about just a little bit later is the fact that rate doesn't matter. That's the one thing that the banks and Wall Street teach us to focus on. And it's the very thing that they could manipulate in their favor. So, I think that's one of the rules people need to understand, that rate does not matter.
Right. Yeah. What a perfect lead in, because I'm sure some people are like, what are you talking about? Of course it matters. So you got to stay tuned for the rest of it if you want to hear the rest of the story, right? Paul Harvey, right? There's the rest of the story. So that's the beginning. So awesome. Well, Di, thank you for that. Again, we'll dive into, I got lots of fun questions for you here in a little bit, but tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up? Kind of family upbringing? What did you want to be as a kid? Just anything that you think would be kind of fun to share.
All right. Well, I was born in Bronxville, New York, and
Okay.
raised in Berry Lakes, New Jersey.
Okay.
And believe it or not, I was a pretty normal child. I did not dream of growing up and being an insurance agent. That was the last thing on my mind. If you would have asked me as a child what I was going to be, I was going to be a ballerina or a boxer. Those were my
Oh, wow. I
Yeah.
love it.
My grandma was a Rockette, and of course, in the 70s, that's when Rocky came out. And
Okay.
that really affected me.
I love it. Wow, what a dichotomy, right there, ballerina or boxer. I mean, there's not much of a difference. I mean, not much, too much more difference between the two of them. I love that. That's too fun. So you said your grandma was a rockette, is that right?
Yeah, she was
How
a
cool is
dancer,
that?
and I actually learned to dance before I could walk, and I learned to sing
Wow,
before I could talk. So,
I love that.
I was raised on the stage.
Very good. So you said you sing as well?
I'm
Okay.
what they call a triple threat. I could sing, dance, and act.
I love it. Very good. I've got a son that I would say is, from dad's point of view, anyways, is a triple threat as well. He was the Beast, Beauty and the Beast in our high school's play, and just crushed it and was wonderful. So
Oh, very
I
nice.
can.
That's one of my favorites.
There you go. It's perfect, right? I can do one of the three. I am a single threat. You do not want to see me dancing. I guess I could probably act, but the music part I got, but none of the other ones. So good for you. I love it.
Nice.
Very cool. So what about some? You mentioned that you want to be a ballerina or boxer. Like as you got into adulthood, kind of what was one of your first avenues? Did you go the college route? Did you just jump right into the workforce? What did that look like?
Well, like I said, I wanted to be a dancer, but in 1986, my dance partner dropped me, broke my ankle, and that kind
Oh
of ended my
no.
career.
Wow. Okay.
So I left New York
Mm-hmm.
and moved to Washington State, which
Okay.
is as far as you can get
Right.
from the city and still be in the States.
Yep.
And that's where I went to college and got my degree in psychology with an emphasis on chemical dependency and rehab.
Oh wow. Okay. Were you wanting to be like an addiction counselor or something along those lines?
After I graduated, I took
Hmm.
care of babies that were born addicts.
Oh
So
wow. Okay.
children that were, little Coke babies, little FAS
Hmm.
babies that were,
Wow.
came into this world with problems that they didn't
Yeah.
create.
Oh, that's got to be a heartbreaking situation. I mean, God
It
bless you for.
absolutely is. And if you ever hear the
Mm.
cry of a Coke baby, you'll never forget it and you'll
Oh.
recognize it wherever you're at.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that breaks my heart. My cousin did nursing, and she specialized in NICU, and some of the stories she tells of like just babies that are like as big as your hand, and that they somehow miraculously through God's grace are able to get past all that and grow through that. It's amazing what the human body can do, but my goodness, when you start with that many things stacked against you, that's a tough road.
It really is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very, very, very sad for them. Kudos for you for making that a big part of the direction that you wanted to go. Obviously, that's not where you stayed. At some point, you kind of transitioned into finance space. Tell me a little bit about that.
Again, it wasn't something I was looking for.
Okay.
And I loved, loved, loved working with children. That
Mm-hmm.
was, my passion. I still love children,
Right.
but I was a single mom
Mm.
raising four kids on my own,
Okay.
and there just wasn't the income there.
Right.
And one day, my little brother literally brought me kicking and screaming to see a financial advisor, the last person on earth that I
Right.
wanted to see, because I knew this guy was going to want my money.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any. So I did not willingly go. And when I sat down with this gentleman, he showed me how to take 28 years worth of debt
Okay.
and pay it off in just 8 years. I mean, and it wasn't a little bit of debt. It was the
Uh-huh.
first mortgage. It was a
Okay.
second mortgage. It was $120,000 worth of student loans. It was $97,000 worth of credit card debt. It was a van payment. It was a car payment. It was a timeshare. So I had
Mm-hmm.
all of this, and I was a single mom. And he showed me how to pay it off in a third of the time. And then when he looked at my life insurance, he showed me that I could have 10 times the coverage for the
Mm-hmm.
same amount of money.
Wow.
And I wasn't even saving anything for retirement because I honestly thought you had to be a Rockefeller in order to
Mm-hmm.
invest. And, everything he told me just seemed way too good to be true. And this was back before we had computers and the internet. So this was a long
Mm-hmm.
time ago.
Right.
And I left his office and I didn't move forward on anything.
Mm-hmm.
because it was too good to be true.
Yep.
But I spent the next about 5 days in the library just reading everything that I could find on insurance, on mortgages, on investing. And after doing that deep dive, I went back to his office and he assumed I came there to move forward with
Mm-hmm.
the plan he put together for me, which I
Right.
did.
Uh-huh.
But I had a different question. And that
Okay.
was, Mr. Silva, are you hiring?
Oh, nice. Okay.
And literally 3 months later, 90 days later, I transitioned out of my career working with children
Mm-hmm.
into financial services and was able to
Wow.
become a full-time mom, which
Okay.
is what I really wanted. I wanted to be
Mm-hmm.
able to volunteer in the classroom with my kids.
Right.
I wanted to be able to go on field trips. I didn't want to miss their life anymore.
Right.
So, as much as I loved working with children and as
Mm-hmm.
little as I knew about money and finance, I knew this was the right career
Right.
path
Yeah.
because I wasn't a stupid woman. I was
Mm-mm.
very educated. I mean,
Right.
$120,000 worth of student loans should tell you I
Right.
had a lot of education,
Right.
but nowhere along the way did anybody teach me about how money worked.
Yeah. Right.
And so I thought, if I don't know this stuff, ain't nobody knows this stuff.
Right, right. Which is a perfect segue because we kind of skipped over the fact that you kind of started in education in a variety of different ways. I don't know if we've talked about this before, but my background is in education as well. I was a K-12 teacher. I started as a music teacher and then went into classroom and administration and similar path. I mean, in the fact that I never saw myself ending where I am right now. God has unique and different plans that knows better than we do, but yeah, it's. But I would pose this, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Would you agree that you never take the heart out of the teacher? They may change roles, they may do whatever, but like if you have the heart of a teacher, that's just not something that just goes away.
You will always teach in one way or
Right.
another. It's like if you've got the heart of a performer, you'll always
Hmm.
perform.
Right. Yeah.
So once a teacher, always a teacher, once
I
a
love it.
dancer, once a singer, always a dancer and a singer. It never goes away.
I love it. I love it. I completely agree. Completely agree. So very good. So that helps us a lot. And then the other segue I wanted to make was you mentioned financial literacy. So let's kind of dive in on that because that's one of the other things that as I was learning about this wonderful platform and the opportunity, that was one of the things. Again, as the heart of a teacher, I'm like that is missing. Like I've taught schools, right? I've taught at every level, kindergarten all the way to adult, and this is not being taught anywhere. So let me ask you this question. If you could get like tune into every dinner table, we're assuming that families still have dinner at the dinner table. We know that's not always the case, but if you had 5 minutes, what money talk would you give? What is the message that you would provide to American families right now if you only had 5 minutes?
If I only had 5 minutes, I would encourage them to learn how to ask better questions
Okay, love that.
and to protect their assets.
Mm,
When somebody goes down to the bank, ask two questions. What's my rate? What's my payment?
okay.
When they go down to invest, they have one question, and that's what's my rate of return?
Uh-huh.
And your rate and your payment can be manipulated because it's
Hmm.
not the rate, as we said earlier,
Right.
it's the type of product you're using and how that product is calculated. And
Okay.
that's what people really need to understand. I mean, Andy, have you ever looked at your mortgage statement and looked at the numbers and just thought, that math ain't mathing? I mean,
Yes.
it doesn't add up. You
Yeah.
look at it and it's like, okay, I've got a 6% rate on my mortgage. Why is 2,000 out of the 2,400 going towards interest? That's
Yeah.
not 6%.
Right.
But people, they just look at it, they scratch their head and they think, well, there's nothing I can do about that.
Exactly.
So we need to educate them on what's really going on
Hmm.
inside of that. And,
Right.
when you go to sign up for a 401k, again, they ask the wrong questions. They ask you, how much money do you want to, invest? Well, everybody wants to put in as little as possible. What they need
Hmm.
to be asking is, how much money do you need in retirement?
Hmm.
Two
Right.
very, very different questions. And I could go really deep into both of these things, but you said 5 minutes. So the other thing that I said is teach them to protect their assets.
Mhm.
So if I were to ask you, Andy, what is your greatest asset? What would you tell me?
Um, well, I don't know if it's physical. I would say my time. I would say my time is probably one of my most valuable assets. With my time, I can earn more money. With my time, I can spend time with family. I'm not guaranteed tomorrow, so I would say the time that I have and how I spend that and how I get to spend that, whether that's me choosing it or whether I'm having to forced to be going to work because of, money situations or whatever, I would say my time is probably my biggest asset.
Okay, I like that answer. Most people tell me that their house is their
Hmm.
greatest asset.
Mm.
And they also tell me that their house is their greatest liability.
Sure.
So
Yep.
it's like on
Yes.
both sides.
Right, right, right.
But reality is your greatest asset is your ability to generate income.
Okay.
And your greatest liability is taxes.
Ooh.
So the way you protect your income and you protect your taxes is with asset-based insurance. And people don't understand how that works. So I'm going to ask you just a couple of questions. You're like, wait a minute, I'm doing the interview here.
I know.
But
What happened here? I love
kind
it.
of get people thinking.
Yeah.
So, Andy, if you had the choice between paying taxes or legally opting out of paying taxes on your retirement income, which would you choose?
Well, I would, of course, not pay taxes if there was a legal way to do it.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
And if given the choice when it comes to your retirement
Okay.
about having your money, at risk where it could all be gone tomorrow,
Hmm.
or having that principal protected where you never have to worry about losing a penny, but you still participate on the upside of the market, which are you going to choose?
Yeah. Of course, the no risk and just the gains, right? If is that
Yeah,
is that
so principal
possible?
protection and
Right.
potential gain.
Yeah.
And then the last question, when it comes to your savings,
Hmm.
would you rather have your fees buried in the footnotes of a prospectus
Mm.
where your
Hmm.
CPA can't tell you what you're paying, or
Right.
do you want them honest, upfront, and disclosed?
I would like to know what I'm signing up for.
All right. So you said tax-free, risk-free, transparent
All
fees.
right. There we go. Let's get these down.
That's an asset-based insurance policy.
One more time. Tax free. What was the second one?
Tax-free,
Okay.
risk-free, and transparent fees.
Okay.
And there's so much misinformation flying around about insurance. And, I always tell people, you know what? I was raised to demonize certain types of insurances throughout the industry. But you
Uh-huh.
know what I learned?
Hmm.
There aren't good products and there aren't bad products. Every
Okay.
product was created for a reason.
Interesting.
The reason that products get bad names is because the agents who sell them
Mm.
don't know what they're selling.
Okay.
It's not the product 100% of the time, it's the agent selling the product.
Interesting. Love it. So I know the answer to this, but you had mentioned before when you went in with your own personal debt story and being like, hey, I'm at the end of my rope. I know that I want to spend more time with my kids. I want to be a full-time mom, but as a former teacher, like that's not the ball game that you play when you're going to be a teacher, right? So you what does Rich say? You either spend less or you earn more or some combination of both of them, right?
Yeah.
So you had this laid out for you, and your initial thought, although you went and researched it, was the same thing as what many people that you and I talk to is it's too good to be true. And you always say, well, that's a great question, right? And then you have a great response to that. What is it? How do you respond to it's too good to be true? Because we hear that a lot.
We do hear that. That's the number one thing that we hear. And I respond to it by saying, it is good. It is true. We can prove it. And we've actually proven it. Because
Mm,
what we're doing, Andy, it's not on trial, it's not up for debate. We have helped our clients, and I actually have the numbers right in front of me because I was working on the leaderboards earlier
perfect.
today.
Love it.
We have over 10.4 billion in total debt under management. And as of today, we've helped our clients pay down 2 billion, and that is with a B, 893,154,140 in principal debt. And for every dollar that we help people pay off in principal, we cancel, eliminate, wipe off the face of this earth a corresponding $3 to $6 that never has to be paid back. So we've proven it. And, everything at first sounds too good to be true. I mean, imagine if you lived back in the horse and buggy days and your buddy Henry came up and said, "Hey, Henry, let's go," or "Andy, let's go into town, but we're leaving the horses at home."
Yeah.
That would have been crazy. That's impossible. You can't take the horse and buggy to town without the horses.
Right.
And then we get used to automobiles, and the next thing you know, Orville's like, "Hey, let's have breakfast in California and dinner in New York." Well, that's impossible.
Right.
At least with a car it is, but you can fly, and we all do that all the time. But that was crazy talk back then. It's too good to be true. And I'm pretty sure in our lifetime, we might be able to teleport. No guarantees on that one.
Right.
But, all of these ideas that start out too good to be true, with enough time and effort, they become reality.
Right. Right. And again, you've been doing this longer than I have, and I try to learn as much as I can from you and from Rich and John and Sandy. I mean, there's just such amazing people that have gone ahead, and I'm always one that likes to learn from people that have walked the path successfully before. But this idea of helping people to, I guess, suspend disbelief for just long enough to hear that there might be a different way. And I think that's one of the most challenging things that I see as someone that's trying to help people with this is people do have to just suspend that they may not know everything. And I'm not saying this in a braggadocious way. I don't know everything, but I may know one thing that you don't that could help you make a dramatic difference in your life. Are you open to having a conversation about that? And then we just let the math speak for itself. This is not something that is hard to sell if people are open their mind to it. I don't know. That's my experience. What do you think?
You are 100% spot on, because when I started my career, I did everything the traditional way. Okay. I sold traditional bank products, traditional insurance. I did the mortgages. I was the securities girl with, I had my 63, my 26. If there was a license with a number at the end of it, I had that.
Right.
And then I remember one day I met a gentleman. He wasn't a friend yet. He became a very good friend.
Okay.
And he challenged me to suspend my reality long enough to do research.
Yep.
And those were his exact words.
I love that.
Suspend your reality long enough to do some research. And I thought, oh yeah, buddy, I'm going to do some research, and I'm going to, just demolish. I mean, I knew I was going to take his crazy talk and prove him wrong, but I couldn't. And I remember the exact date. It was July 15th, 2015, that I turned in my resignation letter, because I learned that there was a smarter, safer, more effective way to help people, to get them out of debt in record time, to properly protect their assets, and to help them build a massive passive residual income. I learned that there was a way that you could use the same dollar twice, that, you didn't have to focus on one side or the other of the net worth equation. You could literally increase your assets and decrease your liability using the same money for, both sides. So, once you see things, I honestly believe that the human being is designed to recognize truth. And when you recognize truth, you can't unsee it.
Yeah. Nope, I completely agree. And I think that's why when we get, like-minded people that have caught this vision, when you get them all in a room, there's energy, there's a buzz around there, because we do see the difference. And I mean, I have to be careful with not going too far down this road, but I do think that there's some similarities between like sharing your faith. Like this is something that you're passionate about, and you are trying to not forcefully, but open people's eyes to a new and a better reality. Again, if they will suspend their reality long enough to do their own research, there is a better way. There's a more effective way to do this. That again, people ask, well, why don't we know this before? What benefit would it be for the banks for us to know this? Like, what benefit would that be to creditors, to
The
banks? It,
reason we don't
it
know
doesn't.
this, Andy, is
Yeah.
because there's a lot of money keeping people
Yeah.
broken in debt. There's a
Exactly.
lot of money. And if they teach you to focus on the wrong things,
Yeah.
they make a fortune.
Yep.
People go down and they refinance their homes all the time looking
Hmm.
for a lower rate. But
Right.
what they don't realize is they get that lower rate, it takes them backwards and they start the
Hmm.
amortization schedule
Yep.
all over again.
Yep.
When people have to choose between safety and growth, if
Mm.
they choose safety, they have to invest a ton of money in order to
Right.
retire with dignity. If
Sure.
they choose growth, they could potentially lose everything.
Right.
But they don't realize that they can get safety and growth
Hmm.
thanks to the advent of indexing. And
Right.
you mentioned that this is, almost like sharing your faith. Well, the
Hmm.
word gospel, it
Okay.
means good news.
Yeah.
And I tell people I preach the good news of finance. This
I
is
love
the
it.
gospel of finance.
Sure. Right. I
So,
love that.
and it's what we're supposed to do. People weren't always in debt. They didn't always have these long
Mm.
mortgages.
Right.
Once
Yeah.
upon a time when you bought a house, you put 80% down, you financed
Sure.
20%, and you were out of debt in 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not
It's
like that anymore.
No, it is not. It's been so interesting. Right when I was getting kind of introduced to this whole thing, you always look at different resources, and Dave Ramsey, obviously, he's been around a long time. He's got things on it. So I read some of his stuff, listened to it, and then I've actually have quite a few international friends. It is one, I guess, shocking to me how unique the way Americans handle debt is to our country. Like nowhere else on the world do we just accept, I guess is the best way to say it, the amount of debt that we have. And that it's just like, oh, we're going to be in debt the rest of our lives. I'm like, what? Why? Why have we? And it has not been that long. That's the other thing. That's the Dave Ramsey part was like my grandparents, they never bought anything on credit. That's a new thing. Credit cards are not something that's been around for hundreds of years. Last
No,
50 years, 60 years, something like that. So we have been so quickly brainwashed, I guess, better way to say it, into just believing that debt is a way of life, and it's not. It's not a way of
no.
life.
People think if they can afford the payment, they can afford it.
Yes,
And that's not the way it's supposed to be. I
right.
mean,
Yeah, I completely agree. I have one more question, and then we need to jump to our kind of final questions here.
okay.
We've talked a little bit about money mindset, so I'd love to get your thoughts on this. So, how much of someone's financial breakthrough, we said that we have to, be in a right spot to accept that, right? How much of their financial breakthrough is about numbers, and how much of it is about the mindset or beliefs that they've inherited? What would you say to that?
Oh, that's a really good question. I would say that it's about mindset more than the numbers.
Mm,
Because when we show people the numbers, numbers don't lie. Now, with
right.
that, I will say liars use numbers, but numbers do not lie. And we take such an educational approach. We gather all of their information and
Hmm.
then take them down a logic trail. We
Yes.
don't just get their information and then reveal the results.
Hmm.
We educate them on the
Right.
difference between a closed ended loan and an open ended loan.
Hmm.
Because, like I've said probably 3 or 4 times now, interest is not
Right.
created equal. We
Hmm.
teach them concepts that they know, but they don't know have names like float
Right.
and leverage. We teach
Yeah.
them about offset accounts. We just
Hmm.
take them down this logic trail so that by the time we get to the reveal,
Hmm.
they know enough to believe that we can do what we say we can do. Plus, we
Right.
take them on a tour of the
Right.
program and let them see the cause and the effect of every financial decision you make as you make it. It's this cause and effect, and
Hmm.
numbers don't lie.
Yep.
And when they see the numbers and they understand what's going on behind the scenes,
Hmm.
it really doesn't matter what they come in believing. I mean,
Right.
everybody, you say, well, when are you going to be out of debt? They're going to say, never, probably when I'm dead, not in this lifetime. I mean,
Right.
those are the answers
Right.
people get. And with us, they could say, oh, I'm going to be debt free in 7.8 years. They could
Right.
tell us the exact get out of debt date. And talk about power, knowing if you stick to that plan, that's going to be your reality. And whether they believe it or not, we guarantee it. So they have nothing to lose.
Right. Oh, I'm going to try to butcher this word, guaranteed. I don't know why it's harder to spell when it's capitalized, but I think that's right.
Well,
Guaranteed.
you know
So,
what? I'm
yeah.
the math girl. I don't spell, so
Yeah,
I
there
would
you go.
never know.
It's all good. I love it. So I want to, I said that was my last question. There's one more that I just have to ask because we've heard your story of what this, what math can do when we leverage it and when we, have the right mindset and we believe in something that there's a better way to do things. I want to give you an opportunity to tell me about a client story that just still to this day gives you goosebumps of the radical change that this program was able to do for them and their family. Does one come to mind?
Yes, and I wish I knew you were going to ask me this. I would have exact numbers.
Oh, okay.
But a little over a year ago,
Okay.
I got introduced to a woman. She is a single woman. She
Okay.
immigrated here from Pakistan
Oh, wow. Okay.
and just really was wanting to do what was right financially, was
Okay.
stressed out about money.
Right.
And, I sat down with her and I ran her numbers. She's 39 years old
Okay.
and she wanted to retire at 53. That
Okay.
was kind of a funny number that she picked 53. It wasn't
Right. Right.
55. It wasn't 59 and a half. It
Right.
wasn't 65. She wanted 53. And I'm like, okay, 53 years old.
Okay.
And as I asked her the intake questions, I find out, not only at what age do you want to retire, on what percentage of your income.
Hmm.
And she wanted at least $10,000 a month coming in retirement. And then, asked her how long her life expectancy was
Right.
based on family and went through all of these different questions. And when I ran her numbers, if all she did was focused on getting out of debt,
Okay.
we were able to take her from 26 or 28 years. I don't remember exactly what it was, but have her totally 100% debt free in just 4 years.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, all of that debt gone in 4 years. But if she wanted to convert it into wealth,
Okay.
it added a year to her get out of debt date.
Okay.
But by the time she was 53 years old, she would have more passive residual income for the rest of her life than that which she currently earns today.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. So that's one of my favorite stories. And I got to share one more.
Okay. I'll let you.
And that's my son.
Okay.
And so that makes it personal to me.
I can
And
relate.
he just bought a home just a couple months ago. And this house was almost $500,000. He's
Hmm.
27 years old. And we put in his numbers and we took him from a brand new 30-year mortgage down to 9.8. And we're saving him $414,000 in interest. Yeah, I saw your face. That's
Wow.
huge. Saving him
414?
$414,000 in interest. And he will be debt free before he's even 38 years old.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we haven't ran his wealth numbers yet because it's so new and he's still learning the functionality of the program. That, that made it so personal because my
Hmm.
interest rate on my mortgage, okay, I have it at 3%.
Hmm.
So it's saving me 113,000, but my son, his interest rate was 7.25. So he's saving 414,000.
Wow.
And we really are the answer. We are the answer, because
Right.
if we can help people get out of debt, we can help them become stone cold wealthy. That's the opposite of debt.
Right.
It's wealth.
I love it. Out of debt and then straight to stone. I'm going to use that, stone cold wealthy.
Stone
That's going to
cold wealthy.
be my new goal. I need to have a post or something like that. I love it. Love it. Di, thank you so much. My goodness, I had high expectations and you crushed all of them. This was super fun. I learned a lot, and I can't wait to get this out to our listeners, because I'm sure that they will hear this and be like, "What? There's no way." So maybe at the beginning, but by the end they'll be like, "I've got to talk to somebody about this because it's just too good to pass up." Right?
And that's the beauty. They can talk to somebody and get a
Hmm.
complimentary analysis ran. It
Yep.
doesn't cost them anything to
Exactly.
find out exactly, not kind of, sort of, almost, maybe, but
Yeah.
exactly what this program can do for them.
Yep. You literally cannot lose. Literally
Mm-mm.
cannot lose. I love it. Okay. So shifting gears just a little bit, but just because we like to keep things a little bit on brand with our Empowered Learning podcast, I did provide these to you ahead of time. We've heard a little bit about your story. Who's a leader that you really admire and you try to emulate? Who comes to mind?
I had a couple that came
Okay.
to mind, and the first one was Dexter Yeager. I
Okay.
don't know if you know who Dexter Yeager was, but he was huge in Amway.
Okay.
And what I learned from Dexter, he said, if you ain't tight with your wad, you ain't never going to have a wad. I mean, he was very frugal and, taught,
Oh my gosh.
don't buy things unless you have cash. I mean,
Right.
just a very, very practical man. And then there was Art Williams.
Mm.
And Art Williams, he taught me buy term and invest the difference. And that was
Mm.
really what I built my initial career on. And then there was a man named Brian Daly. He's not a famous name, but Brian's the one who asked me to suspend my reality
Mm.
long enough to do research.
Right.
And that was where I learned that there was a smarter, safer, more effective way to save for retirement. And I still help people buy term and invest the difference. I
Hmm.
just invest the difference in different products than what
Right.
Art taught.
Right.
Then this one will surprise people.
Okay.
And it's Ava Perón. I
Okay.
don't know if you know who Ava Perón
That
is.
sounds super familiar. I probably should know who that is.
Okay, she was the first lady in Argentina. She
Yeah,
married
yeah, yeah.
Juan
Okay, yeah.
Perón, who was a
Don't cry for me,
military
Argentina. I
leader.
got it. I knew that name.
Exactly. Okay. So that's my favorite movie, but she's also somebody, and it's not a political stance I'm taking here.
Hmm.
I just want to
Right.
say that,
Yeah.
that Ava, she started out just as an illegitimate child
Mm.
with everything stacked against her,
Right.
and she worked so hard, and she never forgot where she came from.
Hmm.
She was always one of the people, and she loved the people, and she served the people.
Hmm.
And she went from being this illegitimate child to a spiritual leader of the nation,
Hmm.
and she really transformed things. And if you do watch that movie, you mentioned the movie, and you
Hmm.
see all of the success principles,
Mm.
that you get
Hmm.
up, you get knocked down, you get up and you get knocked down, and you get up and you get knocked down. And how once she made it, she wasn't accepted
Hmm.
by, the oligarchs. They
Right.
never wanted her,
Right.
that it was the people.
Mm.
And it's the same thing today, because most financial advisors, they're elephant hunters. They're
Yeah.
looking for, the people who have lots and lots of money.
Hmm.
Well, you know what? I've spent my life serving squirrels. There's a lot more squirrels out
I
there,
love that.
and they
Oh,
need us. So
yes.
when I'm out there, I'm not looking for the people way up here. I'm looking for the people who are just like me,
Yep.
those who were buried in debt, those who had
Hmm.
really given up and didn't see a way. I mean, what I didn't tell you is I was working 15 hours a day, 6 days a week,
Oh my
trying to
goodness.
provide for my kids.
Wow.
And, when I started teaching people the rules to money, the rules
Hmm.
that I didn't know, 3 months later, I was a full-time mom
Yeah.
with a part-time six-figure income,
Wow.
because that's how powerful you're going to earn in this life. You're going to get paid in direct proportion to the value that you deliver to
Mm.
society.
Mm-hmm.
And we deliver great value because we're teaching people things
Right.
that the wealthy don't want them to know.
Yeah. I
So,
love it. I love
and
it.
that's what Ava did. So
Yeah. That
I
what
love
a
her.
it's a deep cut. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. Next question here. Um, you strike me as someone that is constantly learning. Obviously, you're sharing your best practices and inspiration with the team and this kind of stuff. But you personally, what is a learning that's most impacted you in the last year?
I actually heard it just a couple of months ago,
Okay.
maybe 2 months ago at the most.
Okay.
And I was at the FIG symposium. FIG stands for Financial Independence Group.
Okay.
And one of the men up there, he said, our goal isn't to beat the market. Our
Okay.
goal is to help people preserve their wealth.
Ooh.
And that really stuck with me because, as much as I tell people rate doesn't matter, rate doesn't matter, rate doesn't matter, they still get hung up on rate. Okay.
Mhm.
It just, people get hung up on rate. It's easy to overcome, but that's always what it is. But
Mhm.
even if rate did matter,
Right.
our goal isn't to beat the market.
Mhm.
Our goal is to preserve
Mhm.
your wealth.
Right.
And that's the beauty of indexing, because your money's going to go up, it's going to go sideways, but you
Mhm.
never have to worry about it going down.
Right.
And that is huge peace of mind.
Yeah, I completely agree. All right, last question here, Di. This has been so good. We might have to divvy this into two episodes here. There's just so many little truth bombs we got going on here. Okay. So, like the name of the podcast, Empowered Learning. You've got kids. I'm not sure if you got grandkids yet, but I'm sure that's on the horizon here. What would you do? How would you empower learning for future generations?
How would I empower learning? Well, I love speaking at pep assemblies
Mm,
and talking to kids from the time they're in elementary school, and
okay.
just grabbing that mic and yelling, "Who wants to be a millionaire?"
There
Because
you
all
go.
of their hands fly up. They all want to
Right.
be millionaires,
Right.
but they think they have to be rocket scientists. They
Mm-hmm.
think they have to be rock stars. I just want to be able to sit down with them and teach them those very basics of money. That,
Right.
you know what? You could be a mill worker like your daddy. You can be a hairdresser like your mommy, and you can be a millionaire. You just have to understand the secrets of the wealthy. And they're not hard to understand. They're common sense, but they're secrets.
Yeah. Yep. Understand the secrets.
Yeah.
I
So
love
I
it.
would teach them how interest works, the difference between an open ended loan and a closed ended loan. I
Mm-hmm.
would teach them mortgage amortization and interest cancellation. I would teach, most people, everybody talks about earning interest. Nobody talks about canceling
Yeah.
interest.
Right.
And I would teach them how to earn interest, how to
Mm-hmm.
cancel interest, and how to beat the bank at their own game. There's a reason the banks are the tallest buildings in every city.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's because
Very
they
true.
know things we don't know, and let them know from a very young age. You see, kids are money motivated.
Mm-hmm.
Kids want to know this stuff.
Right.
And if you can show them how they could earn interest and cancel interest
Mm-hmm.
at the same time,
Right.
and help them understand that the banks, this is what they do,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not like we've made this up. The banks have
No.
done this forever,
Right.
and give them examples, because we all learn through stories.
Mm-hmm.
Stories are
Love
so
that.
great because we can put ourselves into them
Yep.
and just teach finance through storytelling.
There you go. There you go. Well, Di, this has been an absolute pleasure. I've learned a lot. I'm sure that all of our listeners are just clamoring for their phones and emails to find who it is that they could talk to. Hint, hint, I would be happy to talk to you on this kind of stuff. But thank you so much for your time and for your wisdom and for your stories. To your point, stories do make a big difference, and your story has been phenomenal. So thank you so much for your time, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Andy.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
That's a wrap on this episode of the Empowered Learning Podcast, and another standout in our 2026 Wealth Reset series. Huge thanks to Diana Glenn for keeping it real and helping us to see that financial freedom starts with awareness, education, and intentional choices. If you've been inspired to take back control of your finances, be sure to share this episode and follow along as the series continues. The journey to a new financial future is just getting started.